So the question of evil is without a doubt one of the most difficult questions that the human person can wrestle with.
Evil is already settled in classical philosophy as the lack of good, the due good.
Evil is only known in relation to goodness. Evil is known as something that's missing, something that's broken, something that's that should be there, but isn't.
This was, in a way, the huge question for St. Augustine. And his great insight really was to see to the question, what is evil? The answer is that evil is nothing.
Evil is always a choice of a lesser good when we should seek a greater good. No human heart can choose evil for its own sake.
Evil is a lack of being that should be, but is not. And it's important to make a distinction between what's sometimes called like a physical evil versus a moral evil.
So there's a big difference between evil and bad. The deer is eaten by the lion. This is not an evil. This is not a moral evil. It's a bad thing to the deer and a good thing for the lion. While moral evil is not good to anybody. It's just evil.
There was a famous bank robber, I think his name was Willie Sutton. They asked him, why do you rob banks? He said, that's where the money is. He's seeking money. Money's a good thing. So the moral evil is not that he's seeking evil for its own sake, it's that he's seeking one good thing, but he's seeking it completely out of context.
There's such beautiful insights of Plato where he saw like, this is the great evil. This is really the only great evil is that there be this lack of being, this disorder in my will, in my soul. How can there be evil in the world if there's an all-good, all-powerful God?
If God is goodness itself, how can evil exist in the world? This is a problem that's been around for a long time.
It's the one abiding objection to God's existence that never seems to lose its teeth.
That have made a lot of people, leaving the church and saying, I don't believe in religion anymore because this all-loving God, that has created everything, created even evil at the same time.
What about God permitting a human being to rebel against him and hurt a human being who's not rebelling against him? What about the evil perpetrated against a young child? In many ways, that's a mystery. The Catholic Church calls it the Mysterium Iniquitatis, the mystery of sin. But it's a mystery that's partly understandable.
The human person separated himself from God, ceased to trust God, and that brought this disorder into the cosmos.
Sometimes at the heart of that, there's a moral evil. There's the rejection of goodness by a human heart. That's something that's very hard to explain.
God tolerates that a human being freely chooses some evil action. Why? Why not to stop it?
The greatest gift that he's given to us is our freedom. God isn't going to take that gift back, even if we are violating it. Because if he takes away our freedom, we can't love.
It's part of human dignity to be free, to choose the good, to choose my maximal flourishing, to choose loving God freely. God wants every human person to love God freely.
And it's up to the people, up to you and I, how to use the free will. Either to use it beneficially or to abuse it.
God will respond to that with justice. Maybe not on our timetable, but in his timetable, which is eternal. God will also respond, in a sense, by trying to bring good out of the evil. But most of all, God is seeking the conversion of the evildoer.
And there is evil in the world, not because God wanted. It's because we created this evil. And God tolerated this free human decision to do an evil thing to some limits. Because if you pass the limits and God sees, I cannot bring good from this evil, then he will not tolerate this.
In order to prevent that greatest of all evils, which is the loss of the soul, God is very patient, and God is always waiting for us to turn away from evil and come back to him.
Thomas, when he responds to the objection to God's existence from the existence of evil, he states that, very succinctly states that God's greatness is in fact shown in that he's able to bring goodness even out of evil.
This is not just a nice thing to say to the people. This is a metaphysical thing. There is no choice for God to do other things. So nobody can do more evil, that evil will remain in the world, and God doesn't know what to do with it. God never will tolerate a human being to do more evil than what God can tolerate, from where it can produce more good than you can imagine.
That God can take even this momentum of our own evil and of our own malice, ignorance, foolishness, and He can take that and He can reverse it. He can bring good out of it.
Suffering a human being is a major issue. John Paul II said that human suffering is one of the things, is a cry that goes directly to God.
The book of Job, God doesn't satisfy Job with an intellectual answer to his sufferings. He brings His presence, and I think that's the suffering with.
The heart of Christianity is that Jesus Christ enters into our suffering. God Himself enters into our suffering. He walks with us.
Everyone in the human race has suffered in one way or another, right? But for us Catholics, suffering has a happy ending. It is redemptive.
He defeated suffering. He defeated suffering. So suffering now becomes a way to become Christ.
We were just reading how, in Salvifici Dolores, John Paul II's apostolic letter on suffering, he talks about the Bible as a great story of suffering.
Christ never complained in carrying the cross. That's too heavy, that's enough, you know what I mean? Because He was doing this for amazing love for us. It was nothing from Him. It was heavy, painful, but He was willing to do this even more.
By uniting our own suffering with His suffering, He even allows us the possibility to participate in our own redemption. He wins the redemption, but He allows us to participate in it. St. Paul, I make up in my own body what's lacking in the suffering of Christ for the sake of His body, the church.
And remember that death is the maximal suffering for a natural suffering for a human being. And death is the ultimate identification with Christ. So suffering is really defeating death.
Our suffering has meaning. Our suffering in the end has meaning. And again, we can't escape it. We can't escape it because, like I said, we can't escape death except through the cross, except through the suffering of Jesus Christ.